Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So, I got this new mold in the other day. Well, actually, it's been a couple weeks ago, I guess. Anyway, I wanted to try it. I haven't tried it yet, and I haven't actually seen it done before either. And I also have this. It is a table runner that I thought would be really cool to kind of put it in resin and see how it works. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut out a little piece of it, and I don't want it to necessarily cover the whole thing. This mold has kind of got steps in it, if that makes sense. Where the plate is, it kind of comes up with these little designs, and then you have the flat part of the bottom. So I want this to kind of just go along that flat part. So all I'm doing is I'm just kind of shoving it in and trying to get the basic outline of where I want this so I know kind of how to cut it, because it's not, you know, a normal shape by any means. Honestly, from the way it looks right now, it almost looks like, Bigfoot's foot. It's not, but it almost looks like it. And I'm just going to kind of rough cut it out just to kind of get the basic ish shape. And I want to do this now because I'm going to be pouring my resin in several different layers to achieve the look that I want, and then kind of shove it in and see where I need to kind of cut out. I really don't want it to go over the part where it gets a little bit deeper, where the edge of the plate is going to come up, because I'm going with a transparent kind of look for that part, and I really don't want you to necessarily be able to see it. I mean, it's not easy because of all of the ins and outs of the way that this mold is shaped to get that, and it's okay if you can, but I just want to try and avoid it as much as possible. I apologize if I sound weird. My allergies have been kicking my ass here this last week, and yeah, it's not been fun. So I've been dealing with all of that. Anyway, like I said, basic shape. Now, this, when I purchased it initially, I thought honestly that I could have sworn it said it was like a vinyl. It's not. It's more of like a mesh type, maybe organza ish almost type of material. But what's really cool is that on the one side, it's gold, and that's why I purchased it. But when you look at the other side, you can use it with that side too, and that's more of a silver look. So it's kind of cool. It's got the two different colors that you can kind of use for whatever. All right, so what I want to do around that edge of the plate is I want a rainbow. So I am dividing up my resin into 7 different little cups, and I am just going to get it's a combination of Let's Resin alcohol inks and my cheap art alcohol inks, and I am going to make the rainbow. Now, I am also, which I forgot to do, I wanted to do it in the big cup as opposed to having to put it in the little cup, is my Rolio Pearl White for that super shimmer. Just went a little bit in. It would have been so much easier had I remembered to put it in the big cup, because I could just use a little bit, mix it up. Now I've got to try and put just the tiniest bit in each little bit of resin, which, I mean, there's such a little amount that you need, otherwise it's going to overpower it, that it was kind of a pain to do. But whatever, it's fine. It's fine. I'll just do it the hard way, because that's just a me thing. All right, so in with the red. Now, I do want these colors to, I don't want them too light. So I am putting probably in each cup 4 or 5 drops of alcohol ink. Now, in the yellow, I always add more than what I would add in any other color, just because I want to make sure that that yellow isn't going to lose its color when we pour it out. We all know it looks darker in the cup, especially these little paper cups. I've noticed that when I put my alcohol inks in there, the paper cup kind of absorbs some of that color around the edge when I go to start mixing it in. So it kind of almost gives it the illusion in some areas that it's darker than it really is, but it's not. So you do kind of lose some of it when you're doing it this way. But I need the reason I'm using them is because I want to be able I've got to be able to get in that little groove of the plate. So I need to be able to kind of make a spout out of it, and it's just a lot easier to do it here. I don't know exactly how much I need. I've never done this mold before, and even if I had, it's not like I would remember anyway. Mixing it in, and I'm not sure how this is going to work. I don't want my colors to mix. I just kind of want them to just go in the rainbow. I mean, I know there's going to be a little bit at the like where they're connected, where they're touching, that it's going to merge a little bit, and a little bit's okay, but I don't want them to just run all over the place and just do whatever it is that they want to do. Okay, so here comes the fun part. I'm trying not to make a mess and be very careful, and I don't really know how much to pour, and I don't want to pour too much and then have it start spreading all over the place, because again, like I said about it running or about it blending, so I'm just kind of mapping out in my head about how much room I want to let it go before I start pouring in the other colors. And this is it's there's a lot of stuff to kind of like, the little things go for the plate, they go up and over and just all over the place. Like, I couldn't probably have picked a harder one to try and do this with, but it's okay. I think it's gonna look really cool. At least in my head it looks really cool. I don't know, you guys can let me know what you think at the end. And just getting in these last two colors, then I'm gonna kind of let it set for a second, and just kind of let it settle, and then see where I kind of need to add a little bit more. Now, I don't want to merge, but I also kind of want to have as evenly distributed with the color as I can. And it's hard. Now, I know I could have let my resin set and get a little bit thicker, but I didn't want to do that cuz I ain't got time for all of that nonsense. And I'm just not that patient. Now, I am going in here with my silicone tool, and I'm just kind of pulling it up on the edges around where the plate goes up, just to make sure that it's touching it all, because the next layer is going to be that table runner that we saw with a little bit of clear. So I don't want clear in those spots. I want it to make sure that it's colorful. Okay, so now I'm pretty much done with the amount of resin, and oh my god, like, I've got so much left. Too much to just pour into a whatever, so we're gonna have to figure something else out. Now I'm just gonna hit it ish, kind of, sort of, with my heat gun where I can, trying not to blow it around. I don't want to thin it out too much because I don't want it to run and blend. Okay, well, I guess that we're going to try another new mold in this one. So this is, I think they advertise it as a tea light candle holder, but since we got the dish, I think it honestly could work kind of cool as like a candy type dish. I think would look cool. Not use this mold either, so I'm just doing the same thing. I'm kind of pouring it in the rainbow, and hopefully that it's not going to merge like the other one. Now, this is fairly thin along the sides, but I do want to have it, since I'm doing it, and we'll make them matching pieces. So I guess I'm going to put some of the table runner down on this one too. So I want the bottom as empty as possible, so I can't go over the top. So I got to make sure that this resin just kind of lines up to like right before it starts to curve. So I get it all in, and I still have more resin left, God help me. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just kind of all of the little spots where it kind of went wherever it wanted to go. I'm just kind of pushing it down in there, pulling out somewhere I need to, trying to make it as even as possible, kind of going along the edge so that none of the colors are going up any higher than the other, if that kind of makes sense. But yeah, just kind of pushing it down there. So I hopefully don't have a mess to clean up, either later. But, we'll see. Okay, so let this do its thing and figure out what to do with the rest of that resin. And here we are 24 hours later. Now these are all nice and cured, but I got to get those little droplets of resin that have dried off of here. So I'm just taking some painter's tape and going over the entirety of both of these molds and just to get them all off. Like I it's a pain, but I feel like the easiest way, honestly, when you do it, because you got to worry about like the resin that's already cured losing its seal, is just kind of pushing up from underneath the mold, and as I push down, like sandwiching it, I guess. um I'm over here making hand gestures like you guys can see them. Anyway, yeah, I feel like that's probably the best way to do it to try and prevent breaking that seal. Now we've got to cut this one down to size so that it can match with the other one. And it's just going to be like a rough cut. It doesn't have to be perfect. I'm going along the same way that I did the other one. Now, this, yeah. Oh boy. Um, so we get it in here and it works. And you can kind of see through the mold how it's going to kind of look. Now, I am just taking forever and a year to fiddle with this to get it to lay straight. Um, it's like it fit in here just fine yesterday when I was cutting it, and now it wants to be dumb. I don't know what its issue is, but it's annoying me. Like, it really did fit just fine, and I can't for the life of me figure out which way. Like, there's clearly a wider side on here, so it should be, you would think, it should be an easy, hey, let's put it in here. But no. And then there's this whole spot that like doesn't have anything in it at all now. So I've got to cut out another piece, I think, and put it in there because I don't want it to not be covered. And then there's stuff that's just too long, and it's just become a whole thing that I shouldn't have to deal with. And I wish I would stop. But, I don't forever. I do this forever. And then I want to go start with the other one. Okay, come on. Please stop. Thank you. Okay, now the resin. I am putting in just a little bit of resin because I don't want this part completely clear. I want this part completely clear, but I don't want the whole bottom part of it completely clear. So I want you to be able to see what it is that I'm putting in. Otherwise, it's just kind of pointless. And I'm just going over and smoothing this all out with the resin, pushing up since it's pretty see-through. You can pretty much tell where, there's any bubbles at. Moving it around, making sure it's completely submerged and flat as possible, which shouldn't be an issue because I did cut it smaller than what, it's supposed to be in theory. And going around here now, this one is a lot more trickier than the little candy dish one because of all the ins and outs and all that stuff. And then I wanted to make sure that I'm getting up underneath that lip for the bottom of the plate so that I don't have any air pockets there. And I just need that completely thin layer. And of course, this gives me more reason to fiddle with the stupid thing and not stop. And then where I had that little hole at where now there's nothing covering it, I am cutting out a small piece to just put over there. I don't want to make it too big. Like, I don't want it to necessarily see a seam between the two, so I've got to make it like a little bit bigger so it covers over it. But at the same time, I don't know how this is going to react and how much darker it's going to cause it to be because it's overlapping, if that makes sense. Hit it with a heat gun real quick and just to kind of pop any bubbles that are there that I pushed up and all that fun stuff. And then guess what? Bet you can't guess. I'm going to play with it some more because that's how I'm going to do this project apparently. So Yeah, now, in my own defense on this part, there were some bubbles that kind of came up again and I needed to get them out. But yeah, I don't know, guys. I just couldn't stop. It's like, why? Why? Just leave it alone. But I didn't. So here we still are, fooling with it, watching me fool with it. I feel like an old woman, like, who just continues to fiddle with stuff. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. We're almost there, though. If not, the resin will just cure before I'm done, and then either way, I won't be able to do anymore. I did add just a little bit more just to make sure that it was completely touching all of the sides. And yeah, that's it. Okay. Come on, stop. Stop it. All right, so I'm finally done, thank God. Hit it with a heat gun one last time, and then I'm gonna walk away. I promise, I'm really walking away this time. All right, so 24 hours later, here we are. It's cured. Guess what? It's lumpy. All of that fooling around, and it's lumpy. It's fine. I digress. Okay, so adding in some Let's Resin interference powder in gold. I didn't want to do straight white. I didn't want to do straight gold, so I thought this will work. It's a combination of the two. And I'm not necessarily like it doesn't have to be super opaque. It can be slightly transparent. It's fine. I think that once you put enough on there, once we fill it up, that it'll be okay. And I really won't have to worry about actually seeing through it. But it's just going to give it that little bit of gold shimmer to kind of go along with what we've got going on. Now, I did spray some alcohol on the bottom of both of these just to try to maybe prevent any air bubbles that may get trapped on the bottom and underneath the lip of that plate. And I'm just going to take my silicone tool, kind of go over it just in case there's anything caught in those 90-degree edges, and then around the inside lip of this plate to hopefully pull out anything that may get trapped there. And pour in the rest of this resin. After, of course, I hit it with my heat gun. And guess what? Bet you can't guess. I didn't make up enough resin this time. Oh, I was literally like, I think I made up 30 mils more. That's how short I was. It's like, really? Are you kidding me? And I probably could have left it, but I didn't want to. And it would kind of, especially on the plate. Now, if it was just that candy dish, I may have left it. But since the plate didn't go up high enough, I wanted to make sure it had that base that it needs to have. So, all right, filled it up the rest of the way. Now I have resin left over. Such is my life. And these are done. So, remember how I had that leftover resin from the first batch? Well, I poured it into this coaster holder mold, and I didn't do, because I didn't really think that I was going to have any of this left over or whatever. I didn't actually make a spot to put the gold table runner in there, but I figured that, since they kind of sort of ish go together, why not? I'll just put a little bit of this on the bottom just to use it up and be done with it finally. So that's what I'm going to do. Now, I didn't have enough of the rainbow colors left to actually make like a full set, so I don't have coasters to go with it. But I'm sure somewhere along the line, I will make too much resin, and I can always do it later if I so choose. So I am just kind of going over, just adding a little bit. Now, that mold was pretty full, so it's just a very thin amount of resin that I can put on there, but it's okay. So we're just gonna kind of let this do its thing, and here we are 24 hours later, time to demold it. So we'll start with this first one that you guys, had no idea I was doing first, just to kind of see how it turns out. Now, I have made plenty of rainbow style coasters and holders before, and I pretty much have it down. I like the way it turned out. I didn't necessarily go with, trying to make it as super rainbowy as I did the other ones, simply because there wasn't like a whole lot left of the resin. It was just little bits here and there. So I just used what I had, but it does have, for the most part, the kind of look, except for maybe on the bottom where I just kind of put a bunch of colors all together. And this one did kind of merge and throughout it, but it's pretty cool. I kind of like it. Like, I do, and I love how you can see that super sparkle come through, and it almost looks like a rainbow galaxy. Like, forget about the dark night sky type stuff, but just, I don't know. I like it. I like it a lot, actually. I may have to do the actual coasters to go with it. All right, on to this plate. Now let's see how this turns out. Come on. And here we go. Okay. My colors stayed separate, which I'm super, super happy about. Now there is blue and purple. They are next to each other, but we all know my camera is colorblind and it just likes to say everything is blue. But there is a distinctive difference between it, I promise you. And let's see how this candy dish has turned out. This is really cool mold. I like this mold a lot, actually. I think I want to do it with some resin crete or something at some point and actually make like a tea light candle holder like it's, says it's used for. I like it. I think I actually like this more than I like the plate. I do. I think it's really, really pretty. Okay, so me being me, well, first, there's a lot of sharp edges around here, so I am just going to kind of file that down just a little bit, just to, so I don't cut myself like I have a tendency of doing. And I was going to, my sole intention, now, in my head, I feel like it needs something else. Like, it's pretty, but it needs something else. I was going to be done. But me being me, I was like, I can't be done. This is just it's too simple. So I decided that a gold trim around the top was the way to go. So I did it to the coaster holder and I liked it because I figured, well, I'll do it to this piece first, see how I feel about it, and then if I like it, then maybe I'll go on. Now, the plate is what I feel like was really, really lacking. And I know I could get away with doing the gold rim on here and not like messing with the colors and the ability to see them because of how deep it is, that you can clearly see the colors. Like, there's not going to be any disguising them by me putting this gold trim on top. But I was worried about the plate, and the plate really, really needs something else. Like, it's too plain for me. So I kind of went back and forth on what to do if I wanted to do anything. And I said, screw it, I'm going to. So I do. And I think that it adds to it. Now, I was looking for my round tip marker, and of course, it's dried up. So, or I used it all, whatever. So I couldn't use it. So I'm using the chisel tip, which I probably shouldn't have. I am doing a super, super thin line just along the edges of like all of the little decorative piece parts of this. And I think that it adds to it. It kind of just finishes it off a little bit. Uh you guys can let me know what you think. Like, I feel like it needed something else and that this just kind of gives it that little bit that it needs. But I wanted to keep it super thin so that it didn't cover the colors, because the colors are, it's like the whole point of this. I mean, and the table runner, but the colors, and I didn't want to kill them or make them go away by putting too thick of a line on here. So I did the best I could. Now there's some spots where it was kind of like all right, especially this part up here where it's all these little twists and turns and stuff. It's like, okay, some of this stuff needs it, but it kind of doesn't have like a distinctive, like where I should put it. So we're just going to go for it and cross our fingers and hope for the best. And that's kind of what it ended up being. I mean, those parts maybe could have been better, could have been a little bit thinner, but I didn't really have a thinner marker to use, so I kind of just did what I did, and it's fine. I like it. I like it a lot more with the gold on it than I did before. It just brings out all the decorative like lines and stuff on this piece. Anyway, as I finish this up, that's a wrap on this one, guys. Like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. I will catch you guys on Tuesday for the next one. Love ya. Bye.